Welcome back to Under Baobab Skies. Tonight, we journey into the world of the Nubian traders, unsung navigators of Africa's deserts and riverways. Beneath the wide African sky, where the sands of Nubia meet the Nile, lives a world where survival is a constant negotiation with nature, politics, and human cunning. Our story begins with caravans stretching like serpents across the sands, winding their way from the heart of Africa towards Egypt and beyond. The traders carried precious cargo, gold and incense, ivory and salt, each item a silent testament to the hardships and hopes that defined their world. Each trader's step was watched by eyes, both friendly and dangerous. The smallest miscalculation could cost everything. They moved not just across the landscape, but through a complex web of alliances and rivalries. Always aware that the price of failure was measured in lost fortune, captured camels, and broken bones. The question is, what did they stand to gain? What treasures did they seek to acquire? And how did they brave the perils of their journeys? Let's pause here for a moment. Feel the sand beneath your feet. Listen to the wind, whispering tales of ancient journeys. Imagine the vast desert stretching endlessly under a canopy of stars. Here, in the quiet of the night, surrounded by the timeless expanse of sand and sky, we begin to understand the challenges faced by those who dared to traverse these landscapes. The relentless sun, the deceptive whispers of oases, the gnawing hunger, and the constant threat of sandstorms. Each sunrise brought new challenges, each step a test of endurance. But amidst the hardships, there was opportunity. For those who dared to dream beyond the horizon, the rewards promised were as boundless as the desert itself. Fortunes made in a single trade. Stories that could make bards envious, and the chance to outwit rivals who underestimated the cunning of the desert people. As we journey further into this world, you'll meet remarkable characters, each shaped by the unforgiving beauty of the desert. There's Amal, a young trader eager to prove himself on his first solo journey. Hassan, the grizzled old guide whose knowledge of the desert is matched only by his caution. And Zara, a fierce caravan leader whose strength and determination inspire. Together, they'll navigate treacherous sands, confront dangerous rivals, and uncover secrets buried beneath the desert's shifting dunes. Their trials will push them to the limits, testing not just their endurance, but the bonds of trust and camaraderie that sustain them through the darkest nights and the loneliest stretches of sand. Beneath the baobab tree, let's take a moment to reflect on our place in this vast world. How does it feel to be on the edge of civilization, where the familiar gives way to the unknown? As we watch the stars begin their slow turn across the night sky, let's consider the challenges that lie ahead. The scorching heat, the constant threat of losing one's way, the relentless march of the sun. Now, picture yourself adjusting your cloak against the biting desert wind, feeling the weight of your provisions on your back and the thirst on your tongue. With each step, you'll delve deeper into this world, facing not just external challenges, but the internal battles that define every journey. Will you rely on logic and reason, or surrender to the seductive call of oases that promise respite but offer only illusion? As the desert tests your limits, you'll discover that survival here is a delicate balance between trust and deception, between endurance and despair. And so, under the vast expanse of sky and sand, we invite you to embark on this adventure, to feel the heartbeat of the desert, to understand the language of the wind. Are you ready to step into the shoes of the Nubian traders, to feel the sun on your skin and the sand between your toes? Your journey is about to begin. Are you ready to lose yourself in the deserts of Nubia? You are now under baobab skies. Imagine waking up before dawn, to the searing heat of the desert already kissing your skin. Your breath hangs in the air, a silent plea for mercy against the furnace that awaits the day. This is your reality now. As a Nubian trader in the ancient world, every hour is a battle against the elements, against exhaustion, against the gnawing fear of loss. You are not just traversing the sands, you are wrestling with them. Each grain of sand is a testament to the toughness that this world demands. Your steps leave marks on the shifting dunes, just as the unforgiving terrain leaves its imprint on your soul. Your journey begins long before the first rays touch down. In the cool of dawn, you must transform into a mathematician. Every kilogram counts. You are orchestrating a dance of balance and necessity. The weight of salt, gold dust, or textiles must be carefully considered. A misplaced package can topple the scales, disrupting the rhythm of your journey. You are not just loading goods, you are loading fate. Camels, your lifeline, stand patiently awaiting their burden. They are not beasts of burden, but partners in this high-stakes game. Their well-being is your guarantee of survival. Dozens of kilograms are placed on their backs, testing not just their strength, but your judgment. A sick camel can be a death sentence, a lost one, a delay that might mean ruin. It's a silent pact between man and beast, a shared venture into the heart of unpredictability. With all set, there is a moment of stillness, a pregnant pause before the symphony of the desert unfolds. Your eye, honed by years of practice, scans the horizon. The wind, your constant companion, whispers tales of sandstorms brewing in the distance. You have learned to decipher its language, to read the shifting sands for signs of danger. Patience is your virtue today. The slightest misstep can send ripples of disaster. As the sun ascends, the heat rises, turning the desert floor into a shimmering mirage. The air grows thick, a heavy blanket stifling any hope of respite. You move with the measured steps of a seasoned traveler, conserving every drop of sweat, every ounce of energy. Each step is a victory over the relentless sun, a testament to your enduring spirit. You and your caravan are not just traversing the desert, you are becoming one with it. The grains of sand adhere to your skin like a second layer, mingling with the dust of countless journeys past. The wind sculpts your face, etching lines of resilience, determination, and a quiet understanding of the desert's unforgiving embrace. The sun climbs higher, the heat intensifies, and the desert stretches out before you, a golden sea with no horizon in sight. Time takes on a different cadence, dictated by the sun's relentless march across the sky. The hours melt away into a monotonous expanse of sand and solitude. You are a solitary figure against the immensity of the desert, a testament to human endurance. But the desert is a fickle mistress. She offers beauty in her harshness, wonder in her solitude. As the sun begins its slow retreat, the desert transforms. The burning sand yields to a gentle caress, the scorching winds to a soothing lullaby. The night is filled with a million diamonds, stars winking down at the lone traveler, and in that vast expanse of darkness, you find a strange solace. The desert has its own stories to tell, whispered on the winds, etched in the starlight, and you are its patient listener. The temperature drops dramatically, transforming the oven-like desert into an icy tomb. Every exposed limb becomes a battleground between flesh and frost. Fingers and toes lose feeling, becoming numb sentinels against the cold. The desert's mood has shifted, and you must adapt or freeze. In this desolate beauty, the night is as unforgiving as the day. The darkness conceals dangers, the chilling winds amplify fears. The desert, once a shimmering expanse of gold, is now a vast canvas of inky black, broken only by the silver glitter of a million stars. The silence is deafening, broken only by the mournful cry of nocturnal predators. Water, the elixir of life, becomes both blessing and curse. Every drop is precious, rationed out with the precision of a miser. But it is also a magnet for danger. The very search for water can lead to confrontation, even conflict, as rival tribes guard their oases jealously. The desert's thirst is a relentless tormentor, forever present, forever unquenchable. Navigating the treacherous terrain is a skill honed by experience. You are attuned to the desert's subtle cues, reading the dunes for hidden dangers, the wind for omens of change. Each rock formation, each subtle variation in the sand is a piece of the puzzle that makes up this unforgiving landscape. The desert's unpredictability is its most formidable adversary. You learn to navigate not just the terrain, but the whims of fate itself. And yet there is a certain poetry to this struggle, a grim beauty in the harsh reality. As the sun dips below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of blood orange and bruised purple, you feel a strange sense of kinship with the desert. You are part of this timeless drama, a solitary player in an eternal dance. The desert tests your mettle, pushing you to the brink of endurance. But it also offers moments of stark beauty, reminding you of nature's untamed grandeur. The relentless sun, the unforgiving sand, the sudden sandstorms, they are all part of the crucible that shapes the Nubian trader. You emerge from this crucible tempered, hardened, ready to face whatever the next leg of your journey throws your way. Now, let's delve deeper into another facet of the Nubian trader's existence. Their interactions with the myriad players that populate this vast terrain. The world of trade is not just about traversing the desert. It is about engaging with a multitude of characters, each with their own stories, motives, and perils. Even before venturing into the desert, the Nubian trader is engaged in a delicate dance of diplomacy and strategy. You are not just a traveler, you are a representative of your people, your kingdom, your interests. The road to prosperity is paved with negotiations, alliances, and a keen understanding of political landscapes. The slightest misstep can lead to a diplomatic storm, turning a once friendly route into a minefield of mistrust. Rivalries between kingdoms are not just political chess moves. They resonate deeply within the Nubian trader, shaping decisions, dictating caution. The Nubian trader navigates these complexities with the finesse of a seasoned diplomat. You understand that every interaction, every exchange, is laden with implications that extend beyond immediate gains. At every turn, the trader encounters individuals and groups whose needs, desires, and ambitions intersect with his own. Some seek alliances, others bargains. Some are driven by greed, while others seek simple necessities. The Nubian trader becomes a weaver of relationships, binding together disparate interests under the banner of mutual benefit. The desert is a realm of shared experiences, of interdependence, and the Nubian trader embraces this ethos wholeheartedly. From merchants seeking rare spices to artisans desiring exotic materials, each encounter is a chance for growth, for understanding, for building bridges across the vast expanse of the desert. The desert is also a crucible of challenges, and it is in overcoming these challenges that the Nubian trader's true mettle is tested. Bandits lie in wait along key passes, their eyes gleaming with avarice, their hands itching for the feel of plunder. They are the shadows cast by the unforgiving sun, striking suddenly and silently. The Nubian trader, ever vigilant, carries the burden of defense, not just for himself, but for his caravan. Every glance toward the horizon, every adjustment of the load, is a testament to this responsibility. The threat of attack is a constant shadow, prompting caution, planning, and a readiness to counter the unexpected. Tribes inhabiting the desert regions are not just inhabitants, they are stakeholders, participants in the grand narrative of survival. Some are nomadic, forever on the move, seeking greener pastures, trading their skills and knowledge for the necessities of life. Others are settled, cultivating what little the harsh environment will allow, eking out an existence from the reluctant earth. Each tribe brings its own customs, languages, and perspectives, enriching the tapestry of the desert's cultural diversity. But they also present challenges, demanding respect, understanding, and often a measure of appeasement. The Nubian trader, with his inherent curiosity and adaptability, rises to the occasion. He learns the art of cultural navigation, bridging differences through trade, diplomacy, and a genuine desire for mutual understanding. In the heart of the unforgiving desert, where resources are scarce and survival is a daily triumph, the Nubian trader finds common ground, forging bonds that transcend the boundaries of language and custom. The desert, with its harsh realities, becomes a catalyst for innovation, resourcefulness, and resilience. In this realm where every advantage counts, the Nubian trader hones his skills, adapting his methods, his tools, and his mindset to thrive amidst adversity. He is a student of the desert, learning its secrets, respecting its challenges, and growing stronger in its embrace. Each interaction, whether with fellow traders, local communities, or the forces of nature, is a lesson in adaptation, negotiation, and the art of thriving in the face of relentless odds. The desert, in its stark grandeur, mirrors the resilience of the Nubian trader, shaping him, testing him, and ultimately honoring his indomitable spirit. As we reach the end of this segment, remember that the Nubian trader's journey is far from over. His path through the desert is fraught with challenges, from the elements to the people who inhabit this unforgiving yet captivating terrain. The desert was never truly empty. Hidden in the undulating sands were dangers that could strike without warning. Bandits and rival traders often watched the paths, ready to seize goods, camels, or even human captives. Each caravan had to move with caution, scanning every ridge, every wadi, and reading the slightest disturbance in the sand. The threat was a shadow that stretched across every mile, shaping decisions, rest periods, and even conversations around the fire at night. The first rays of dawn illuminated a world poised between night and day, a time when danger could lurk unseen. The Nubian traders, seasoned nomads of the unforgiving desert, knew this well. Their day began not with the rising sun, but with a hush of anticipation. Before the first notes of birdsong filled the air, they were up, moving, preparing for the relentless challenges of the day ahead. Their world was one of constant scrutiny, where a misplaced step could mean disaster. As they set out from their camp, each man, woman, and child carried the weight of collective survival on their shoulders. It was more than a journey. It was a dance with peril. Leading the way were the scouts, their eyes sharp, searching for any sign of trouble. Behind them came the men and women of the caravan, guiding their camels through the maze of dunes. Their steps were sure-footed, their movements economical, conserving energy in a landscape that offered little respite. And at the rear, the baggage carriers kept a wary eye out, ensuring no stragglers fell behind. Every bend in the undulating sand dunes could conceal a threat. Every shadow cast by the merciless sun might harbor danger. Even the whisper of wind through the grass could carry the threat of ambush. There was no room for complacency. For a trader, life was a precarious balancing act. One wrong move, one misjudged interaction could disrupt the fragile equilibrium that held their world together. The The slightest misstep could invite disaster, leaving them exposed to the whims of fate. Their days were measured in miles, walked in gallons of water, shared in the rising and setting of the sun. The sun, their most constant companion, dictated their pace, reminding them of the preciousness of each drop of sweat, each bite of food, each step forward. Under the scorching sun, they pushed on. The desert, a relentless teacher, demanded respect. It offered no sympathy, no second chances. If the caravan faltered, it invited disaster. If supplies dwindled, it meant exposure. And if tempers flared, it amplified the risks. There was no margin for error in this unforgiving expanse. Yet within this harsh reality lay the essence of their existence. Each sunrise brought a new set of challenges, each sunset a testament to resilience. In this crucible of sand and sky, the Nubians honed their skills, their instincts, their very survival. In this harsh theater of life, there were no spectators. Each member of the caravan played a critical role. The young were not shielded. They were participants. The elderly were not spectators. They were advisors. The desert spared no one, but it also honored no one. All were tested. All had a role. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple, the caravan made camp. The air, cooler now, offered some reprieve from the day's heat. But the respite was short-lived, for under the cloak of night, the desert revealed its other face, fraught with its own set of challenges. With the dying embers of the day, the temperature plummeted, turning the desert night into a chilling experience. The vast expanse of the night sky glittered with stars. Indifferent to the plight of the travelers huddled around their dwindling fires. The comforting crackle of the fire was their only defense against the encroaching cold, a silent war against the elements. But the cold was just one adversary. The darkness brought with it sounds that could chill the blood, the distant howl of nocturnal predators, the rustle of desert creatures, each sound echoing the solitude and vulnerability of their situation. The stories shared around the fire were not just for entertainment, they were for courage, each tale a reminder of the harsh realities that awaited them. Yet, despite the chill and the tales, sleep was a necessity. Under the watchful gaze of the stars, the traders sought rest, their bodies curled against the biting cold, their dreams filled with images of the unforgiving desert. Each sleeper was a tableau of vulnerability, their breaths misting in the frigid air, their faces etched with the weariness of the day, their postures a testament to the effort it took to stay upright in the face of adversity. Each night was a gamble, a toss between warmth and exposure, between rest and vigilance. The desert offered no guarantees, yet demanded unwavering resolve. The night was as unforgiving as the day, testing their limits, challenging their resolve. The rising sun was their salvation, chasing away the darkness, bringing with it the promise of a new day and the hope of a safe passage. The Nubian traders, resilient and adaptable, were ready to face whatever the next day might bring. Food was another constant challenge. A trader could not carry enough provisions for an entire journey. The weight would slow the caravan and exhaust the camels. Instead, traders relied on small, nutrient-dense items, dried dates, millet cakes, and salted meat preserved for weeks. Meals were often irregular, and hunger became a familiar companion. Sharing rations was essential. One miscalculation could leave the weakest behind, unable to continue. Trust and consideration were as vital as supplies. A wrong step could lead to destitution. A kind gesture could ensure survival. Beyond the desert itself, traders also navigated social terrain. Some kingdoms distrusted foreigners, taxing heavily or imposing arbitrary demands. To pass through safely, traders relied on a mixture of diplomacy, bribery, and careful observation of local customs. A wrong gesture could provoke hostility or delay, potentially dooming the caravan to attack or starvation. The weight of these social negotiations pressed silently upon the traders' shoulders every day. Each oasis was a gamble, a potential haven or a treacherous pit. Finding water was not enough. Ensuring its safety was crucial. Illness could decimate a caravan, turning a journey into a nightmare. The constant fear of disease hung over them, a spectre that could strike without warning, turning a minor ailment into a life-threatening ordeal. The smallest cut could become infected. The mildest fever could turn fatal. The scarcity of medical resources meant that every illness had the potential to spiral into disaster. Fear was their constant companion, urging them to be vigilant, to take precautions, to hope for the best, but always be prepared for the worst. They carried with them the stories of those lost to disease, the memories of those who succumbed to the desert's whims. Each story a cautionary tale, each memory a reminder of the fragility of life in this unforgiving landscape. Sleep offered only partial relief. Night brought sharp, cold, and restless animals. Camels often shifted nervously, tripping over each other, while traders took turns keeping watch. The distant howl of jackals, the rustle of desert grass, and the occasional murmur of desert spirits blended into a soundtrack of vigilance. Even dreams were colored by the anticipation of danger, and the line between rest and alertness blurred. A good night's sleep was a luxury, a stolen moment of peace in a life that demanded constant awareness. To close one's eyes was to court risk. To drift into slumber was to court uncertainty. Yet sleep was as essential as water, as crucial as sustenance. So they slept with one eye open, with one ear attuned to the desert's whispers, forever caught between the need for rest and the demand for vigilance. The silence of the desert was deafening, broken only by the crunch of their steps on the parched earth. The isolation was as palpable as the heat, a heavy cloak that settled over them, muffling the echoes of civilization. Each day brought challenges that tested their mettle, from the unexpected to the mundane. A sudden sandstorm could halt their progress, forcing them to wait it out. A broken wheel could set back their schedule. A sick camel could derail their plans. These setbacks were not just inconveniences, they were stark reminders of the fragility of their enterprise. It was not enough to be strong or clever. Endurance, foresight, and adaptability were equally important. Patience became their virtue. Resourcefulness became their mantra. In the face of each setback, they adapted, improvising solutions, conserving resources, adjusting their course. The desert was their crucible, refining their resilience, testing their tenacity, shaping their spirit. In the heart of the relentless desert, the Nubian traders found their strength, not just in their numbers, not just in their determination, but in their unity. Each challenge forged a tighter bond. Each obstacle became a shared experience. They were not just traders, they were a community bound by hardship, united by purpose, and strengthened by their collective will to survive. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. Imagine the quiet tension of a caravan at night. Each shadow a possible threat, each breath a reminder of the delicate balance between life and loss. These traders lived in a world where each day could bring riches or ruin, and the only certainty was the constant challenge of survival. Through hunger, raids, and social marginalization, Nubian traders cultivated resilience. They learned to anticipate, negotiate, and adapt. In the hardship, they forged trust and dependence within the caravan, and in the small victories of each journey, they found purpose and identity. The harshness of the desert became a crucible, shaping character as much as commerce. When the scorching winds of the desert threatened to snuff out hope, the Nubian traders dug deep into the wisdom of the dunes. Life in the desert demanded ingenuity. When water was scarce, traders learned to read the land for hidden wells, to follow the tracks of birds or the growth of certain shrubs that marked life-giving moisture. They observed animal behavior carefully, noticing which paths offered shade, which dunes shifted unpredictably, and when to move under the heat of the sun or the cooler veil of night. Every decision was a balance between survival and efficiency, a dance with the unforgiving desert. When hope seemed like a mirage shimmering on the horizon, the traders turned to the steadfastness of their rituals. Endurance was more than physical. Traders developed patience as a weapon. Weeks could pass without sighting another human soul, yet the caravan pressed onward, maintaining formation and morale. In the quiet moments, they sang softly, telling stories of past journeys, of ancestors who braved the same sands, embedding oral history into each step. These rituals of memory fortified their spirits, connecting them to generations who had walked the same paths. The traders' bodies, too, adapted to the extremes. Blistered feet, sun-browned skin, and strong hands became marks of experience. Camels, partners in survival, were trained to conserve energy, to endure hunger and thirst, mirroring the resilience of their handlers. A symbiotic relationship grew between man and beast, where mutual understanding could mean the difference between life and death. Flexibility extended beyond the individual to the group. Caravans shifted routes to avoid hostile territory, reallocated loads when animals faltered, and improvised shelters during sudden storms. These adaptive strategies were learned through repetition and observation, passed from seasoned traders to the youngest apprentices. Every challenge was a lesson, every misstep a teacher, every minor victory a celebration of human persistence. Nubian traders navigating the unforgiving terrain of the Sahara Desert. Their resilience is evident in their ability to adapt to extreme conditions, showcasing remarkable endurance and resourcefulness. And then there's the oasis, a sanctuary amidst the vast desert. The arrival at the oasis is met with relief and celebration. People and animals quench their thirst, rejuvenating themselves after the arduous journey. It's a moment of respite and renewal before the traders embark on the return journey back to Meroe. As the sun dips below the horizon, painting the sky with hues of orange and purple, the traders prepare for the night. They gather around a campfire, sharing stories and laughter. The crackling fire casts dancing shadows, creating a warm and intimate atmosphere. The traders rest, finding solace in the camaraderie and the mesmerizing desert night. The next morning, the traders bid farewell to the oasis and begin their journey back to Meroe. As they traverse the undulating dunes, the wind whispers tales of adventure and resilience. The traders, invigorated by the promise of home, navigate the shifting sands with newfound determination. Upon their return to Meroe, the traders are greeted with joy and admiration. Their successful trading expedition brings prosperity and recognition. The bustling city rejoices in their safe return, celebrating their role as vital links in the kingdom's prosperity. But let's return to the heart of our story. Let's turn the page of time and delve deeper into the world of the resilient Nubian traders. We find ourselves amidst a caravan of Nubian traders in the heart of the Sahara Desert. The unforgiving sun beats down on the endless dunes, testing the limits of human endurance. But these traders, seasoned nomads of the desert, seem to thrive in this harsh environment. Their lean, weathered faces, etched with the stories of countless journeys, are a testament to their unyielding spirit. The air shimmers with heat, blurring the horizon and making every step feel like an eternity. The traders, however, maintain a steady pace, their movements economical yet purposeful. They have learned to read the subtle signs of the desert, understanding its moods and anticipating its whims. Their very survival depends on this intimate knowledge of the desert's secrets. The rhythmic swaying of the caravan is accompanied by the soft thud of camel feet hitting the sand, a steady beat that echoes the heartbeat of the desert itself. The animals, equally adept at navigating this unforgiving landscape, move with a grace that belies their size and strength. Their humps, like natural reservoirs, store precious water, sustaining them and their riders over the course of many days. Amidst this sea of sand, the traders occasionally stop to rest. But even in their moments of respite, they remain attuned to they share stories and jokes, their laughter echoing in the vast emptiness, creating pockets of warmth and camaraderie within the harsh desert environment. These shared moments of levity serve as reminders of the bonds that unite them, anchoring them to the familiar amidst the unfamiliar. Then there are the challenges that test their mettle, sudden sandstorms that threaten to bury them alive, forcing them to seek shelter in the lee of dunes or abandoned rock formations. Patience becomes a virtue as they wait out the fury of the desert, clinging to the belief that calm follows the storm. Yet even in the face of adversity, the Nubian traders draw strength from their traditions. Before retiring for the night, they gather around a crackling fire, the flames casting long shadows that twist and dance in the gathering darkness. It's around this fire that ancient stories come to life. Tales of bravery, resilience, and the indomitable spirit of their ancestors. These stories are more than just entertainment. They are threads that connect the present to the past, reminding the traders that they are part of a long lineage of desert dwellers, who have navigated these very same challenges for generations. As the night deepens and the stars begin to pepper the inky black sky, the traders lie down to rest. Their bodies weary, but their spirits unbroken. The desert, once a source of hardship, now becomes a comforting lullaby. Its silence a testament to the timeless wisdom of those who have learned to listen to its rhythms. Each evening around the campfire, under the watchful gaze of the eternal stars, the traders don't just survive, they thrive. They laugh, they share stories, they sing songs that echo with the echoes of their heritage. They are not merely enduring the desert, they are living it, breathing it, becoming one with its every nuance. And in doing so, they discover that the desert, once a formidable adversary, can also be a source of profound wisdom and quiet strength. With each passing day, the Nubian traders weave their destinies into the very fabric of the desert. Their resilience is a beacon, illuminating the path for those who dare to venture into the heart of the unforgiving Sahara. Their story is a testament to the indomitable spirit of humanity, proving that even in the face of nature's most brutal challenges, life not only persists, but also finds a way to thrive. Now, close your eyes and imagine you are a Nubian trader resting by a campfire under the blanket of a star-studded sky. The desert wind whispers tales of resilience as you share stories with your fellow traders. The crackling fire illuminates the strength and unity that binds you, a testament to the unbreakable spirit of the Nubian people. As you reflect on your journey, consider the invaluable lessons the Nubian traders impart. Just as they navigate the unforgiving Sahara, we too encounter challenges in our own lives. Their story reminds us that with resilience and adaptability, we can overcome any obstacle. Nubia is a region nestled in the heart of northeastern Africa, where the Sahara meets the Nile. It's a land that doesn't appear on most modern maps, yet it was once a realm that dwarfed empires. Its legacy lives on in the sands of time, whispering tales of ancient power and forgotten grandeur. The lifeblood of Nubian trade was the Nile, flowing northward like a patient thread through the desert. It carried boats laden with ebony, ivory, incense, ostrich feathers, and gold. At its source, the White Nile traced the very edge of Nubia's southern border, carrying with it the life essence of distant lands, the heart of Africa's riches. To the Nubians, the river was more than water. It was a highway, and those who tamed its currents, mastered its rhythms, and braved its fury were the true heirs of the Nile's bounty. Nubian vessels were crafted from the papyrus plant, reeds bound and interwoven into sturdy boats that sliced through the water. A network of canals spread out from the Nile, snaking into every crook and corner of Nubia's landscape. They were the arteries of a watery realm, delivering precious cargo to doorstep. But the Nile had its own will. Its currents shifted, unpredictable and relentless. Its cataracts thundering challenges to any who dared cross. These rocky rapids, particularly the 4 cataracts between Aswan and the Sudanese border, were the bane of Nubian existence. They were treacherous companions, testing the strength of boats, the mettle of men, and the patience of all who depended on the river's whim. Here, the river narrowed, squeezing the flow into narrow channels bordered by sheer rock faces. It was a constant battle against the odds, a test of skill and daring. But Nubians knew every twist and turn of the river. They read its moods, adjusted their sails, and guided their boats with an almost spiritual understanding. Each bend in the river was a lesson, each rapid a story, and each successful passage was a victory over the untamed wildness of nature. At these perilous points, cargo was unloaded and carried across land, a weary but necessary task to keep commerce alive. Elephant tusks, rolls of papyrus, and boxes of perfume were shouldered, creating a steady stream of humanity moving in tandem with the river's rhythm. Days blurred into weeks as they trekked along ancient paths, the sun beating down and the wind whispering tales of the open desert. But the Nubians were undaunted. They carried on, driven by the promise of trade and the unspoken bond that united them along the river's course. Theirs was a life of hardship and endurance, but it was also a life of shared purpose and quiet pride. For the Nubians understood that their role in the chain of commerce was vital. Their strength and resilience, the backbone of the river's trade. Their bodies ached, their feet bled, but they kept going, step by step, until the familiar landmarks of the river reaped into view. The river trade was a testament to human spirit and the unbreakable link between people and the natural world. Yet trade was not limited to the river. Beyond the Nile's embrace, the Sahara stretched, a vast, undulating sea of sand dunes. Here, caravans braved the merciless sun and the endless dunes, carrying precious goods across the seemingly unending desert. For the Nubians, the desert held both peril and promise. The shifting sands, scorching winds, and the haunting silence were a stark contrast to the vibrant life along the Nile. But through it all, the lure of distant markets beckoned, driving the Nubian traders to venture forth. Across the dunes, the camel was their steadfast companion, bearing the weight of their dreams on its broad back. Salt blocks from the north, woven goods from the south, each item carefully loaded and secured against the relentless jolts of the journey. These were not just goods. They were threads in the tapestry of trade that connected distant realms. As the caravan moved, the Nubian traders sat atop their camels, their bodies swaying in rhythm with the beast beneath them. Wrapped in layers of linen and leather, they shielded themselves against the elements. The sun beat down, the wind whipped around them, but the traders remained steadfast, their eyes fixed on the horizon. Each step was a negotiation, not just with the elements, but with the spirits of the desert. They followed ancient pathways, reading the subtle signs left by previous travelers. Oases became havens of respite, offering a brief pause in the relentless journey. There, under the shade of palm trees, beside trickling fountains, the caravans rested, rejuvenated, and prepared to face the desert once more. The journey across the Sahara was not merely a physical feat, but a test of nerves and endurance. Sudden sandstorms could bury the caravan, blinding them with sand and threatening to topple their precious cargo. Nights were filled with the haunting cries of desert predators, a haunting reminder of the dangers that lurked around every dune. Yet the Nubian traders pressed on. They navigated the shifting sands, guided by the stars, by the shape of distant mountains, and by the stories whispered among fellow travelers. They relied on a network of oases, wells, and springs to sustain themselves and their animals, each landmark a beacon of hope in the vast emptiness. And when the distant rumble of thunder echoed across the dunes, they knew rain was near. Then the sky would open, unleashing torrents of water that transformed the desert into a rushing river, filling wadis and arroyos with life-giving flow. The traders watched in awe as the parched earth drank in the rain, the sand softening, the dry riverbeds gushing with water. It was a fleeting spectacle, a reminder of the desert's untamed power and the fragility of life in its unforgiving embrace. Reaching Egypt was like emerging from a dream. As the Nubian caravan approached the bustling cities of Thebes or Memphis, the sight of towering temple walls and the murmur of daily life would wash over them like a refreshing wave. Relief and anticipation would wash over them, knowing that the arduous journey was nearing its end. Within these cities, the Nubian goods, from elephant tusks to intricate gold jewelry, would be displayed in markets that buzzed with activity. Merchants haggling, artisans displaying their wares, and priests adorned in Nubian finery, adding a touch of exotic splendor to their rituals. In the grand temples of cities like Thebes and Memphis, Nubian ivory might have been used to craft the intricate patterns adorning temple pillars. Gold from Nubia could have graced the crowns of Egyptian pharaohs, symbolizing the far-reaching wealth of the kingdom. Yet their influence went beyond material riches. Stories carried by the Nubian traders wove tales of African kings, their rituals, their art, and their beliefs into the rich tapestry of Egyptian life. The murmur of Nubian languages blended with the sounds of Thebes and Memphis, creating a unique harmony of cultures. Nubia, the land between the river and the desert, thrived as a crossroads of civilizations. Its strategic location made it a hub where the riches of sub-Saharan Africa met the demands of the ancient world. From the heart of Africa to the shores of the Mediterranean, Nubia's legacy echoes through time, a silent testament to a world long gone, the mighty kingdoms of Kush and Oxu, the bustling trade centers and the intrepid traders who ventured forth. They all played their part in shaping Nubia's enduring legacy. It was a realm where the whispers of ancient traditions mingled with the cadence of foreign tongues, where the sands of time bore witness to the rise and fall of empires, where the spirit of adventure burned bright, and where the best human story unfolded in all its richness and complexity. Nubia, a name that resonates with the rhythm of history, inviting us to explore the hidden corners of our past and discover the threads that connect us to the ancient world. So let's continue to uncover the mysteries of Nubia. And as we do, let's remember that every artifact, every inscription, and every legend carries the echoes of those who came before us. reminding us that we are part of an unbroken chain of humanity reaching back to the very dawn of civilization. For the Nubian kingdom, trade was more than just a means of exchange. It was a source of great wealth and power. But while trade brought riches, it also brought danger. Every trade route, however golden its promise, was shadowed by danger. For Nubian traders, the desert was not only a bridge between kingdoms, it was a battlefield of survival, where bandits, rival lords, and the cruelty of nature waited at every turn. Today, we will talk about the importance of trade in the Nubian kingdom. We'll also discuss the dangers involved in trading during those times and how the Nubian traders coped with them. Bandits were the vultures of the sand. They lurked at caravan rest stops or hidden in gullies along the Nile's banks, striking swiftly when the time was ripe. They knew that even a single stolen camel could collapse an entire journey. So traders learned to carry spears, bows, and shields, turning each able-bodied merchant into a potential warrior. But more often they relied on numbers. A caravan was both fortress and family. There were scouts who read the land for danger, and guards who kept sleepless watch beneath the cold desert stars. The greatest threat, however, was not always steel, but politics. Caravans passed through territories claimed by chieftains, kings, and warlords who demanded tribute. Some exacted tolls at narrow passes or rivers, their soldiers blocking the way until the price was paid. Others used subtler means, binding traders to them through gifts, promises, or even arranged marriages that stitched alliances across bloodlines. A trader's survival often depended less on courage than on diplomacy, the art of knowing when to bow, when to flatter, and when to stand firm. Even Egypt itself could be a double-edged sword. Pharaohs valued Nubian wealth, but suspicion lingered. A caravan heavy with gold or ivory might be welcomed one year and taxed harshly the next. At times, Pharaoh's scribes demanded records of goods, their reed pens capturing every tusk and gem. For the trader, every audience was a gamble, a test of whether wealth would buy favor or suspicion, and always the desert itself demanded its toll. Sandstorms swallowed trails, thirst gnawed at men and beasts alike, and the heat scorched as fiercely as any spear. A single misstep, a missed well, a forgotten path could doom hundreds of miles of effort. The caravan leader carried not just goods, but lives on his shoulders, his every choice edged with risk. We've seen traders banding together for safety, forming close-knit groups for collective defense. In this way, trade wasn't merely an economic activity, it was a social one. These caravans were vital for the Nubian kingdom. They moved more than goods and resources. They conveyed people, ideas, and news. This network facilitated cultural exchanges between distant regions, fostering connections that might have otherwise remained dormant. Caravans often consisted of not just traders, but also travelers, pilgrims, diplomats, and even refugees. Merchants transported letters, delivered messages, and relayed information about distant lands. Imagine sitting around a campfire under a canopy of stars, listening to tales of faraway cities, of bustling markets in Egypt, of gold mines in the south, or of strange peoples encountered along the way. These stories carried across the desert, weaving a rich tapestry of information that helped shape the world these traders inhabited. It's important to note that many of these traders were not just buying and selling on behalf of themselves, but often represented larger interests, acting as agents or middlemen for local chiefs, temples, or even royal courts. They carried the insignia of their patrons, displaying symbols of authority or religious iconography that signaled protection or backing. This practice not only served as a form of identification, but also provided a layer of security. It was a way of saying, "We are associated with such and such." and harming us would mean going against them. Nubian merchants often formed tight-knit communities, not just because of the shared risks they faced, but also due to the cultural bonds that united them. Language, religion, and customs would have acted as threads weaving these communities together, creating a sense of belonging in the vast and often inhospitable world of trade. During rest stops or around campfires, they would have spoken their native tongues, praying to their gods and sharing stories from their homelands. These moments of cultural expression weren't just respites from the journey. They were anchors that kept the traders grounded amidst the constant motion. Trade routes were lifebloods of ancient civilizations, and Nubia was no exception. Yet the very prosperity they brought could make traders targets, inviting envy and danger. The Nubians, adept at reading the Nile's moods, understood the value of adaptation. Just as the river shifted courses, so did they, finding new routes, new markets, and even new goods to meet the changing demands of their patrons. Their flexibility was key to survival in a world as unpredictable as the desert sands. However, the Nubians were not alone in their enterprise. As the kingdom grew, so did its ambitions, leading to encounters with other powers, each eager to secure their share of the lucrative trade. The rise of Axum in the Ethiopian highlands and the continued influence of Egypt presented both opportunities and challenges. Nubia's location at the crossroads of African and Mediterranean worlds made it immensely wealthy, but also a pawn in a larger game. Pharaohs and kings levied taxes, demanded tributes, and sometimes outright seized goods. Yet Nubian merchants were not ones to be cowed. They navigated these political shoals with the same skill they used in the marketplace, bartering, pleading, and sometimes even bribing their way through. Moreover, the Nubian kingdom wasn't monolithic. It comprised numerous chiefdoms and trading posts, each with its own interests and allegiances. This internal complexity led to situations where a Nubian merchant might find himself caught between the rival interests of his own kingdom and those of foreign powers. Imagine a caravan laden with ivory and gold, heading north from a Nubian trading post deep in the heart of Africa to the bustling bazaars of Cairo. The goods are a king's ransom, but every mile is fraught with peril. Bandits prowl the eastern desert, their eyes gleaming at the prospect of easy wealth. Further north, the rugged terrain gives way to the River Nile, where local chieftains demand a toll for safe passage. The river journey is fraught with its own perils, from sudden storms to the threat of piracy. As the caravan finally approaches Egypt, the stakes escalate. The closer they get to the fabled riches of the pharaoh, the more alluring the prize becomes for those who seek to plunder. It's a high-stakes game of cat and mouse, with the traders desperately trying to preserve their precious cargo and the predators circling, hoping for a slip. The Nubian kingdom thrived on trade, but the road to prosperity was paved with peril. From the hazards of the desert to the greed of fellow kingdoms, the Nubians had to be ever vigilant, yet their resilience was as enduring as the sands themselves. They adapted, innovated, and negotiated, ensuring that the flow of goods continued and the coffers of Nubia continued to fill. The scorching sun beat down on the caravan, turning the endless sea of sand into a shimmering mirage. Days blurred into weeks, marked only by the rising and setting of the sun and the constant crunch of wheels over gravel. The traders, parched and weary, longed for a respite, for the sweet relief of water and the comfort of shade. But the desert, as if testing their mettle, offered neither mercy nor rest. Suddenly, a dark cloud appeared on the horizon, growing larger with ominous speed. Before long, the sky was filled with swirling dust and angry winds. The storm hit with the force of a battering ram, whipping sand into their eyes and ears. The caravan struggled on, battling not just the elements, but fear itself. With each gust, the threat of losing everything loomed larger, making the journey from a mere trading expedition into a fight for survival. As the storm raged, the traders huddled together for support, their determination a beacon in the swirling chaos. When the sky cleared and the sun returned, the scene was one of devastation. The wind had scattered their belongings, and the relentless sand had eroded hope. Yet, amidst the wreckage, the spirit of the Nubian trader shone through. They surveyed the damage, shared what little water they had left, and began the slow task of recovery. In the aftermath, they discovered a profound truth. They had endured the desert's fury, not just because of their strength or skill, but because of the unbreakable bonds they had forged. The camaraderie born out of shared hardship became their most valuable asset, reminding them that in the unforgiving expanse of the desert, it's not just the goods that one carries, but the strength of their community that truly determines their fate. In the desert, no man traded alone. The journey across Nubia's trade routes was too perilous, the risks too sharp-edged for a single caravan to stand apart. Trust, fragile as glass, yet strong enough to bind strangers, became the invisible currency of survival. Alliances began with words spoken at firesides. A merchant from Kerma might pledge his loyalty to a caravan leader from Dongola, while an Egyptian partner offered guides who knew the hidden oasis. Each gave something: camels, guards, or precious goods, and each held the others accountable, for betrayal meant death in the sands. But trust was never guaranteed. A greedy ally might hold back supplies, or whisper secrets of a caravan's route to bandits waiting beyond the dunes. Merchants watched one another carefully, listening for hesitation, testing words with silence. It was said that a man's eyes revealed his intent more than his mouth, and so every gaze at the fireside was measured like a coin. To seal these partnerships, traders turned to rituals of exchange. Ivory passed into one man's hands, a promise of protection given in return. Spices were poured into another's palm, symbolizing faith in a fair deal. Sometimes, gifts were not just gestures of trust, but pledges bound by gods. Sacred oaths made beneath the wide desert sky, where ancestors were believed to be listening. Yet, even with oaths, suspicion was never far. Kingdoms shifted, rulers rose and fell, and alliances that held one season might shatter in the next. What kept the roots alive was not the permanence of trust, but its renewal, the willingness of traders to rebuild it. Again and again, like water poured into a cracked vessel. Fragile, yes, but indispensable. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. Picture two men shaking hands after days of negotiation, both knowing their lives now depended on one another's honesty. A fragile thread, but one strong enough to weave the fabric of Nubian trade. Without these alliances, there would have been no caravans, no markets, no Nubian prosperity. Trust was the unseen road, the path that held all others together. This is Nubia, the kingdom nestled between the desert and the Nile, where the scorching sun beats down on golden sands, and pharaohs once left their mark on the pyramids of Kerma. But time, like the relentless wind, erodes even the mightiest structures. And today, we find ourselves in a world where the grandeur of Nubia has faded into the embrace of the desert. Yet our story doesn't end here. For amidst the shifting sands, whispers of an ancient civilization echo still. Join us as we embark on a journey through the heart of this lost kingdom, where the secrets of Nubia's golden empire await discovery. We are at the crossroads of empires. Egypt's pharaohs cast long shadows over the south, while the riches of the Mediterranean tempt merchants from the north. It is here, in this vibrant melting pot, that fortunes are made and legends are born. Welcome to the hubbub of the bazaars, where the cacophony of bartering blends with the murmur of 1,000 stories. Here, merchants from distant lands converge, their camels laden with treasures that speak of faraway realms. From the frozen peaks of the north, where icy winds bite, they bring tales of glistening white stones that gleam like captured moonlight. In the south, where the sun kisses the earth, they speak of jungles teeming with life, where ivory tusks glisten and ebony wood gleams. From the east, across the turquoise waves of the Red Sea, they bring tales of frankincense and myrrh, their aromas mingling in the air. While from the west, they speak of treasures that dance in the sunlight, gold and copper shimmering like desert mirages. Each piece of merchandise carries within it a whisper of adventure, a silent narrative that speaks of distant lands and daring journeys. The very air hums with stories. As the sun dips below the horizon, casting the sky in hues of amber and rose, the bazaars come alive. With the rhythmic clang of hammers on anvils, the air fills with the scent of cinnamon and the murmur of 1,000 languages. This is where the threads of Nubia's prosperity are woven, where the caravans of the north meet the traders from the south, and the treasures of the east mingle with the bounty of the west. It's a place where fortunes are made and legends are born. In the heart of this bustling hub, where the desert meets the sky, stands a weathered tamarind tree. Its branches, gnarled with age, serve as a silent testament to centuries of stories. Beneath its protective canopy, men of all walks of life gather, drawn together by the promise of trade and the lure of adventure. Here, under the watchful gaze of the desert sky, deals are struck and alliances forged. For in this land, where the sands shift with the winds of change, trust is as precious as gold and as fleeting as the desert rain. Here, beneath the tamarind tree, a tapestry of cultures intertwines. A wizened Nubian trader with skin the color of polished bronze, his eyes as deep and inscrutable as the Nile. He speaks of ancient kingdoms and hidden oases, his words as precious as the gold he carries on his person. Beside him sits a Bedouin from the north, his features sharp and weathered like the cliffs that dot the barren landscape. His knowledge of the treacherous mountain passes is as invaluable as the spices he guards so jealously. An Egyptian merchant, his linen clothes billowing in the desert breeze, speaks of the riches that await in the south, where the river Nile flows like liquid gold. His tales are as captivating as the hieroglyphs that adorn the tombs of his ancestors. From the east, a merchant hailing from the bustling port of Agilis arrives with tales of exotic lands, his garments adorned with the colors of the setting sun. His wares include the finest silks and the rarest perfumes, each item a whispered secret from distant shores. And from the west, a Greek trader with skin the color of alabaster and hair the shade of ripe olives arrives bearing the echoes of the Mediterranean. His tales are as enchanting as the myths of his homeland, and his merchandise includes glassware that rivals the brilliance of the stars and fabrics that capture the essence of the sea. Beneath the tamarind tree, where stories converge and destinies intertwine, these men, strangers just moments ago, become allies in the grand game of trade. They form a constellation of cultures united by a common purpose, bound together by the ancient pact of trust that keeps the caravan safe and the treasures flowing. But trust is a fragile currency in the unforgiving desert, and these men must tread carefully, for the unforgiving sands of the desert hold dangers as merciless as the sun's relentless glare. Bandits with hearts as barren as the dunes and tempers as swift as vipers strike, preying on the unwary, and the unforgiving terrain itself can turn treacherous, leading even the most seasoned traveler astray. The key to survival in this harsh environment lies in unity. It is in the bonds formed beneath the tamarind tree that the true strength of the caravan is forged. These men who come from different corners of the known world, each bearing the colors and customs of their homeland, must learn to rely on one another. The Nubian with his intimate knowledge of the land, the Bedouin with his sharp instincts honed by the harsh northern winds, the Egyptian with his tales of the Nile's bounty, and the Greek with his wisdom gleaned from the vast seas. United by a shared purpose, they face the challenges that lie ahead. They pool their resources, sharing food and water when supplies run low. They guard each other's treasures through the perilous nights, forming a shield against the lurking dangers of the desert. And when the unforgiving terrain tests their endurance, they help each other's weary beasts, ensuring the survival of the entire caravan. The desert, with its towering dunes and endless horizons, becomes their proving ground. They navigate by the stars, reading the language of the constellations as they traverse the celestial sea. When sandstorms brew, they huddle together for protection, drawing strength from their collective resilience. And as the sun sets over the dunes, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple, they share stories around the campfire, weaving tales that bind them closer. In the heart of the unforgiving desert, beneath the watchful gaze of the eternal stars, these men forge bonds that transcend their differences. They become brothers in arms, united against the harsh realities of the unforgiving desert. Their unity becomes their fortress, their trust in one another their most valuable asset. They realize that in this unforgiving realm, it is not their individual strengths that will determine their fate, but their ability to stand together as one. For the desert is a harsh mistress, demanding respect and offering no quarter. And those who venture into her domain must do so with the support of one another. United in their diversity, they conquer the challenges that the unforgiving desert throws at them, emerging stronger and more resilient with each passing trial. As the caravan moves forward, leaving behind the bustling bazaars and venturing deeper into the embrace of the desert, these men carry with them more than just the promise of trade and adventure. They carry the spirit of unity, the power of trust, and the strength that comes from embracing the beauty of diversity. The desert may be unforgiving, but together they are ready to face its challenges head-on, knowing that their collective resilience will guide them through the perils that lie ahead. When you imagine a marketplace, perhaps you think of coins clinking in a pouch, silver flashing in the sun. But in ancient Nubia, the sound of trade was different. It was the rattle of cowrie shells, the soft heft of gold dust, or the quiet bargaining over bundles of grain. Money here was never just metal. It was a language of trust, memory, and survival. The cowrie shell, small and unassuming, traveled far from the waters of the Indian Ocean to the sands of Nubia. Its curved, white shape carried the sea's whisper into the desert, becoming a symbol of wealth, so powerful that even kings accepted it as tribute. For traders, a pouch of cowries could mean the difference between starvation and safety. They were light, portable, and in their own way, beautiful. Imagine a Nubian trader pouring white cowrie shells into his palm, desert tents in the background, the shells glinting in the golden sun. But cowries were only one part of a mosaic. Barter still reigned supreme. Ivory tusks, leopard skins, and ostrich feathers were exchanged for grain, wine, or weapons. Value was negotiated on the spot, shaped not only by supply and demand, but by hunger, desperation, and the pressure of time. A man whose caravan was dying of thirst would trade gold for water without a second thought. This barter economy blurred the line between wealth and survival. To a Nubian merchant, a sack of millet might be worth more than any jewel, because it could carry him across another week of desert. To a king, however, ivory carved into intricate shapes might be priceless, a display of status and artistry. Value was not fixed. It was fluid, like the Nile itself. Imagine a bustling Nubian market scene, traders with ivory tusks, ostrich feathers, and pottery. Egyptian buyers examining goods, dust rising from the ground. Later, coins began to appear. Some came from Egypt, stamped with the profiles of pharaohs, others from distant Mediterranean cities, carrying foreign gods. These coins were heavy with meaning, not just metal, but tokens of worlds beyond Nubia. To hold one was to touch a network of power stretching across continents. Yet, even then, cowries and barter remained. Older traditions never fading completely, flowing alongside the new. Now, let's pause here for a moment. We sit around a crackling fire, sharing stories beneath the endless African sky. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. Picture a trader counting cowries beside a friend weighing grain, while another holds up a silver coin with wonder. 3 systems, 3 worlds, and yet all mingling in the market's dust. The Nubian kingdoms were renowned for their wealth, not just in the eyes of outsiders like the Egyptians, but within themselves. To a Nubian king, wealth wasn't just about amassing treasures. It was about securing his people's survival and showcasing their greatness. It was a way to tell his people's story. Gold, often traded as gold dust, held immense value. It symbolized power, wealth, and the sun's life-giving energy. Gold was not merely an ornament. It was a tool of kingship, used in rituals to connect the ruler to the divine. Imagine the shimmer of gold dust on the skin of a Nubian king during a ceremony, the setting sun painting the desert sky in hues of amber. Beyond gold, raw materials like ivory played a significant role. Tusk and ivory were highly prized commodities, representing both wealth and artistry. Carvers would transform tusks into intricate works of art, demonstrating the Nubians' skill and sophistication. Picture an artisan carefully carving a design into an ivory tusk. The rhythmic tap of the chisel echoing in the open air, the finished piece displayed proudly. Then there were luxury goods from distant lands, items like incense, perfumes, and fine fabrics. These imports were not just symbols of wealth. They were threads connecting Nubia to the wider world, carrying scents and textures from distant shores. Imagine the aroma of frankincense filling a royal residence, mingling with the earthy scent of Nubian clay and the subtle fragrance of desert flowers. And let's not forget the role of symbolic wealth. Items like the Nubian crown, a majestic symbol of authority and lineage, held immense value. These symbols were more than just objects. They were embodiments of the king's power and legacy. Picture a king wearing the traditional Nubian crown, its vibrant colors and intricate design reflecting the kingdom's cultural richness. However, this wealth was not hoarded but strategically shared. The Nubian kings understood the power of gifting. They bestowed valuable items on allies and subordinates, strengthening bonds and rewarding loyalty. Imagine a king presenting a gift of gold jewelry to a visiting dignitary, the gleaming gold symbolizing the warmth of hospitality and the strength of their alliance. Moreover, Nubian society had a unique approach to wealth, integrating it into daily life. Rather than keeping treasures locked away, they were often displayed in public spaces, adorning temples and royal residences. Everyone could appreciate the beauty and craftsmanship, fostering a sense of shared pride. Picture intricately carved ivory furniture gracing a temple. its elegant designs reflecting the Nubian mastery of art. Finally, the Nubian kingdoms recognized the importance of documenting their wealth. They kept detailed records of their possessions, not just for administrative purposes, but to showcase their prosperity to the world. These records were often inscribed on durable materials like stone, ensuring that the tales of their riches would endure. Imagine an ancient stone stela bearing an inscription detailing the king's vast wealth, serving as a testament to the kingdom's prosperity. To truly understand the Nubian kingdoms is to see their wealth not just as material possessions, but as tools of diplomacy, as threads in the tapestry of their culture, and as stories that have echoed through history. Ancient Nubia was more than just a place. It was a world of adventure and intrigue. If you've been enjoying our journey through its history, just imagine what it would have been like to actually live there. Now, picture this. You are a young Nubian trader named Nefer. You've got an important caravan coming up, one that will take you deep into the desert to the kingdom of Kush. It's a long journey, and your supplies are low. So first, you head to the bustling market in your home city. As you navigate the crowded stalls, you hear the familiar click of cowrie shells being counted, the rhythmic clang of gold on the scales, and the murmur of merchants haggling over the price of grain. You pick up some millet to sustain your team and some lengths of fine linen for trading. And you can't forget the ostrich feathers. Your customers in Kush will love them. With your supplies ready, you set out into the vast desert with your caravan. Days pass under the scorching sun, and your supplies dwindle. Then, just when you start to worry, a welcome sight appears. The pyramids of Kush rising majestically in the distance. You enter the kingdom and are greeted by the sight of gold-adorned temples and palaces. The king of Kush is known for his love of gold, and you've brought just the thing to please him. During your audience with the king, you lay out your gifts, the feathers, the linen, and a few small chests of gold dust. The king's eyes light up at the sight of the gold. He offers you a generous reward, including some exquisite gold jewelry and rare incense from the Arabian Sea. With your coffers full and your heart light, you return home, bringing back not just riches, but stories and perfumes from a world beyond the desert. And that, my friends, is where your adventure ends. For now, but if you want to keep exploring, keep watching. Who knows what other journeys await you in the world of ancient history. We are going to talk today about how the ancient Nubians invented economics. Now, hold up. Wait a minute. Didn't we do that already? We did. But that was a very Western way of talking about how money works. And the Nubians now, they had something else in mind. You see, the Nubians had a completely different idea about how things should be done. And boy, oh boy, do I have something special for you. So stick around, because we are gonna take a journey that will blow your mind. When we look at the old ways of life in Nubia, one thing stands out. They didn't just trade stuff. Oh no, they traded ideas, meanings, and even dreams. For them, trading wasn't just about getting this thing or that thing. It was about sharing parts of themselves. And guess what? That made them super good at it. You see, the Nubians lived in a time and place that seemed impossible. Imagine living near an empire like Egypt and having tons of awesome stuff nearby, but not having any money. It's like wanting all the cool toys, but only having monopoly money. The Nubians didn't have that problem. And it's all because of something called cowrie shells. Now, these shells weren't your average seashells. They were like little treasures from the ocean, a bit bigger than a coin. The Nubians thought these shells were magical. Why? Well, they came from the ocean, which was a mysterious world to them. And the shells looked like the eyes of cows, which were symbols of life and rebirth. Also, They came in pairs, which reminded them of the two sides of the river. You know, the one we call the Nile. Nubia was surrounded by water, so these shells became symbols of water, too. Water meant life, and if you had enough shells, you could buy all the yummy food you wanted. Shells became a symbol of life and food. Then these shells started traveling along the Nile. At first, it was just between neighboring groups. But as more and more Nubian kingdoms grew, the shells started moving farther away, all the way to Egypt. The Nubians weren't the only ones who loved these shells. The Egyptians used them to a pet, but they had their own symbols. They used gold coins, rings, and later paper money. And here's where things get really interesting. The Nubians kept using shells while other cultures used metal coins. But here's the twist. They all agreed that a handful of shells was worth a coin. Imagine you have a shell necklace and your friend has a gold chain. You say, "Hey, let's trade." Your friend agrees, so you swap. But then someone comes along and says, "Hey, my gold chain is heavier than your shell necklace, so I got the better deal." You'd probably say, "Yeah, right, but my necklace has real pearls in it, not just some shiny rocks." In the end, you both walk away thinking you made a great deal. Well, that's exactly what was happening in Nubia. The Nubians didn't care if other cultures used shells, coins, or even paper money. They all had the same value. But here's the real secret. The Nubians didn't just see money as little pieces of material. They saw them as part of a bigger story. Once upon a time, long before the days of empires, there was a village nestled between the river and the desert. Its people, much like you and me, went about their lives. They grew crops, raised animals, and traded with neighboring settlements. Life was simple, peaceful even. But with peace comes a challenge. How do you keep it that way? In those days, there were no police or armies to maintain order. People relied on something much more fragile. Trust, but trust, as they soon learned, can be a fickle companion. One wrong move, one broken promise, and it can shatter like glass. So they needed a way to make sure everyone stuck to their word. A way to replace the spoken promise with something more tangible. Something that symbolized honesty and reliability. And that's when the elders of the village stumbled upon something quite by accident. During a trading expedition to the distant coast, they discovered beautiful seashells with swirling patterns. Perfect little discs. They weren't just pretty, they were practical, durable, and easily divisible. Each shell could be broken into smaller pieces, making it simple to exchange fractions of value. But most importantly, these shells held a special meaning. They were associated with the vast and mysterious ocean, a place full of life and bounty, a reminder of the fertility of the Nile River that sustained them. And so they decided to use these shells not just as currency, but as a symbol of the values they held dear: cooperation, fairness, and mutual respect. News of their honest dealings spread like ripples on water, carrying their reputation for trustworthiness far and wide. Soon, merchants from neighboring regions requested to trade with them, eager to be part of a community that valued honesty. With each passing season, their prosperity grew, not just in wealth, but in influence. Their commitment to fair trade and their use of shells as tokens of trust became a beacon, attracting people from distant lands. Some came to learn their methods, while others brought new ideas and products to trade. Over time, the small village evolved into a bustling hub of commerce, a testament to the power of starting small and building on values. As the centuries rolled by, their system flourished, inspiring awe in those who witnessed it. And so it was that the humble beginnings of the Nubian economic system took root in a small village, What began as a local practice soon became a cornerstone of regional trade networks. Their success attracted attention from the powerful Egyptian kingdoms to the north. The Egyptians, intrigued by this thriving economy, reached out to understand their methods. Intricate records were kept, documenting the exchange rates and regulations that maintained the system's balance. At the height of its influence, the Nubian currency, based on the principles of honesty and trust, was a force to be reckoned with. Its reach extended beyond the borders of Nubia, influencing trade practices throughout the region. The harmonious coexistence of practicality and trust became a model, drawing admiration and attempts at emulation from neighboring cultures. Even as empires rose and fell, the Nubian economic system stood strong, proving that true prosperity is built on more than just wealth. So you see, for the Nubians, the meaning behind the currency was just as important as its material worth. They didn't just use cowrie shells because they were pretty or easy to carry around. They used them to represent everything they valued as a community. When the Nubians traded, they weren't just exchanging goods or making deals. They were connecting with other people and sharing a piece of their culture. They understood that true wealth wasn't just about having lots of stuff, but about being part of something bigger, a community bound together by shared beliefs and values. And this perspective wasn't limited to trade. It shaped every aspect of their lives, from how they treated their neighbors to how they honored their ancestors. They saw the interconnectedness of life, understanding that every action had ripples that extended far beyond the immediate moment. But you might be wondering, why should we care about the Nubians' way of thinking? Well, because they offer us a different lens through which to view the world, a reminder that there are multiple paths to prosperity. In a world that often feels dominated by material pursuits, their legacy is a beacon, urging us to consider the deeper meanings we ascribe to our actions and interactions. As we navigate the complexities of the modern world, the Nubian example serves as a compass, guiding us towards a more balanced, holistic approach to life. It's a gentle nudge, a reminder to look beyond the immediate, to consider the stories behind the objects we exchange, the connections we forge, and the values that define us. And here's the most important lesson we can learn from the Nubians. They teach us that true prosperity isn't just about material wealth, but about weaving together the threads of community, trust, and shared meaning into the fabric of our lives. In the ancient Nubian kingdom, nestled between the Nile and the desert sands, where the scorching sun paints the landscape in hues of gold, there existed a profound reverence for the power of remembrance. And nowhere was this reverence more evident than in their unique approach to trade. For the Nubians, trade was not merely an economic exchange, a simple transaction of goods and services. No, it was a dance, a delicate balance of give and take, respect and reciprocity. And when the dance was done, the echoes of the trade lingered, resonating through generations. When the Nubians traded, they did not just record it in ledgers or clay tablets, though they did keep accounts. They wove it into the very fabric of their oral histories, each coin, each cowrie shell becoming a story, each bartered gift a memory. The lessons of these tales were as enduring as the trade routes themselves, shaping the ethics, the culture, and the identity of the Nubian people. The Nubians were known to have established extensive trade networks that stretched far beyond their borders. Their merchants traveled across the desert, braving the harsh elements to reach distant markets like Meroe, Jeb, and even the Mediterranean coast. They traded not just within Nubia, but with kingdoms across Africa, from the Egyptians to the Axumites, from the Songhai to the Kanem. The Nubians were at the crossroads of commerce. and their encounters with diverse cultures enriched their own traditions while influencing those they interacted with. Their trading prowess was anchored by the Nubian pound, a currency that played a vital role in their economic system. The Nubian pound, often represented by cowrie shells, served as the primary medium of exchange, facilitating transactions and ensuring economic flow. However, the Nubians didn't limit their trade to mere monetary exchange. They understood the value of building relationships, of forging alliances through gifts, hospitality, and respect. In Nubian culture, a gift was more than just an object. It was a silent ambassador, whispering stories of the giver to the receiver. When a Nubian merchant visited a new city, he wasn't just there to buy and sell, he was there to befriend, to connect. His gifts weren't just tokens of appreciation. They were threads in the tapestry of diplomacy, weaving together the narratives of different cultures. Imagine the scene. A Nubian merchant arriving in a new city, greeted not just by the sights and sounds of a bustling marketplace, but also by the welcoming smiles of the local dignitaries. The air is filled with the aroma of incense as the merchant presents his gift, a small token from his home city. Perhaps a hand-woven rug or a sculpture depicting scenes from Nubian mythology. In that moment, there's more than just an exchange of goods, there's an exchange of stories. But what if, instead of a warm welcome, the merchant faces suspicion and hostility? How does he navigate the challenges of cultural differences and forge connections amidst mistrust? Perhaps he turns to a local guide, someone who can help him bridge the communication gaps, unravel the local customs, and build trust with the community. Together, they engage in acts of hospitality, sharing meals, engaging in storytelling, and gradually breaking down barriers. And then there are instances when the merchant finds common ground through trade. Imagine him bartering for rare spices or intricate textiles, goods that not only serve as valuable commodities, but also open up conversations, revealing shared interests and forging bonds of camaraderie. Each interaction becomes a step towards building a network of alliances, a testament to the Nubian philosophy of building relationships before striking deals. Nubia was not just about the goods exchanged or the profits gained. It was about the memories created, the lessons learned, and the stories shared. Trade for the Nubians was a journey of discovery, a continuous process of learning and adapting. From deciphering foreign languages to understanding complex customs, each trading expedition was a step into the unknown. Nubian traders were often the first to encounter new ideas, new products, and new ways of life. Take, for instance, the Nubian town of Old Dongola. Situated along the Nile River, Old Dongola was not just a hub for trade, but a melting pot of cultures. Here, Nubian merchants would meet traders from Egypt, from the kingdom of Kush, and from the land of the Bija. The town buzzed with the energy of cultural exchange. Picture the scene. A group of Nubian traders returning home after a successful trading expedition. They gather around a crackling fire, sharing stories of their adventures. One trader recounts how he learned to haggle in the markets of Egypt, while another talks about the unique craftsmanship of the Kushites. And yet another shares tales of the diverse flora and fauna encountered along the Bija trade routes. These stories didn't just entertain, they were a form of education, a way to share valuable knowledge with the community. In a time before written records, these oral histories served as an archive, preserving and transmitting valuable information across generations. This continuous process of learning and sharing was integral to Nubian culture. At the heart of this cultural richness lay the Nubian elders. They were not just respected members of society, they were living libraries, repositories of collective memory and wisdom. The Nubians believed that the elderly held the key to navigating the complexities of trade, understanding foreign cultures, and maintaining social harmony. Imagine an evening in a Nubian village. The air is filled with the scent of wood smoke as families gather around flickering fires. The younger members of the community listen intently as the elders share stories of past trading expeditions, recounting the challenges overcome, the lessons learned, and the cultural insights gained. These tales served as guidance for the younger traders, preparing them for the complexities of their profession. The elders were also instrumental in resolving disputes, mediating conflicts, and ensuring fair trade practices. With their deep understanding of cultural nuances and trading ethics, they were the go-to mediators, their decisions respected by all. Nubian trade wasn't just about acquiring wealth or exotic goods. It was about embracing diversity, respecting differences, and learning from others. Through trade, the Nubians built bridges across cultures, fostering mutual understanding and creating a rich tapestry of shared experiences. So the next time you think of Nubian trade, don't just picture the bustling marketplaces or the exchange of goods. Envision the vibrant cultural mosaic, the oral traditions, and the enduring legacy of the Nubian people. The Nubian kingdoms of the eastern Nile Valley witnessed an age of prosperity from the 8th century BCE to the 4th century CE. During this era, these kingdoms flourished through extensive trade networks that extended from the Mediterranean Sea to the heart of Africa. As a result, the Nubian city of Meroe became a hub of commerce and cultural exchange, attracting merchants and traders from across the known world. These traders came from distant lands such as Greece, Rome, India, and China, bringing with them exotic goods that had never before been seen in Nubia. Among the most sought-after items were Roman glassware, Greek and Chinese silks, Indian spices, and elephant tusks and tortoise shells from Central Africa. The influx of these foreign goods transformed Meroe into a melting pot of cultures, exposing Nubians to new ideas, technologies, and artistic influences. In the bustling marketplace of Meroe, the air buzzed with the energy of merchants hawking their wares. Stalls overflowed with vibrant fabrics, aromatic spices, and treasures from distant lands. The sight of exotic goods sparked awe and wonder among the local population, while the city's elite flaunted their wealth with extravagant displays of imported finery. However, as the centuries passed, the insatiable demand for these luxury items led to a critical challenge. How could Nubia acquire enough resources to sustain its growing dependence on imports? This question prompted the Nubian kings to embark on ambitious campaigns of conquest, determined to secure the raw materials needed to satisfy their people's craving for exotic goods. Nubian armies, led by valiant warriors clad in shining armor, ventured deep into the heart of Africa in search of ivory, gold, and precious stones. Meanwhile, rival kingdoms trembled before the might of the Nubian war machine, sending envoys bearing tribute to avert destruction. But as Nubia's influence expanded, so did its vulnerability. The very riches that adorned the lives of its people became a double-edged sword, inviting the envy and greed of neighboring powers. Suddenly, the tranquility of the Nile Valley was shattered by the drums of war. And now we turn to our story. You are a respected and wealthy merchant in Nubia, your name echoing in the markets from Meroe to Napata. Your house is a grand structure of mud brick, adorned with whitewashed walls that glisten in the sun. Servants move gracefully within your courtyard, where date palms sway gently in the warm breeze. Your wealth has grown steadily through trade along the Nile, amassing fortunes in ivory, gold, and exotic goods from distant lands. But prosperity has brought not only success, but also challenges. Your neighbors eye your possessions with envy, whispering tales of your fortune and questioning your sudden rise to wealth. Within your home, your wife's family constantly pressures her to spend lavishly, hoping you'll squander your fortune. Even your servants have become bolder, eyeing your valuables and testing your trust. With each passing day, you feel the weight of their gazes upon your back, their words echoing in your ears. It's a burden that threatens to eclipse the joy of your hard-earned success. To navigate this treacherous landscape, you must tread carefully, balancing the expectations of your community, your family, and your own instincts for self-preservation. As a wealthy merchant in Nubia, you understand the value of knowledge. You recognize that your rivals keep a close watch on your activities and are always eager to learn about your trade routes, suppliers, and profits. Therefore, you take great pains to protect your valuable information, knowing that it could make or break your fortune, while you share some insights with trusted allies to maintain a sense of camaraderie and loyalty. You carefully avoid revealing sensitive details to others. You have seen firsthand how quickly knowledge can be exploited, and are wary of the intentions of those around you. In the bustling marketplace, you are a beacon of affluence, drawing attention with your elegant appearance and expensive attire. You wear fine white linen robes and gold armbands on your wrists, symbols of your high status and wealth. As you walk through the crowded market, vendors and passers-by turn to greet you, eager to catch a glimpse of the prosperous merchant. Some smile warmly, hoping to strike up a profitable conversation, while others may harbor resentment towards your wealth. But you remain composed, meeting everyone's gaze with poise and composure. You know that your reputation and fortune are closely intertwined, and you strive to uphold an image of confidence and success in all your interactions. At the end of a long day of trading, you return home to your magnificent courtyard, where the scent of blooming flowers mingles with the refreshing aroma of dates. Servants greet you respectfully, eager to serve you as you unwind from your day's endeavors. You wash your hands and face with cold water, enjoying the sensation as it rejuvenates your senses. Then you recline on a cushioned bench, savoring the sweet taste of dates while reflecting on the day's events. The gentle breeze caresses your skin, bringing with it the sound of birdsong and the rustling of palm leaves. For a moment, you allow yourself to relax, basking in the tranquility of your courtyard oasis amidst the bustling city of Meroe. As dusk settles over Meroe, casting long shadows across the city, you find yourself hosting a delegation of visiting Greeks. They have arrived bearing precious gifts of glassware from the faraway lands beyond the Mediterranean. Among them is a renowned glassblower, Helios, whose skill in crafting exquisite vessels has earned him fame throughout the known world. He stands before you now, ready to demonstrate his craft, transforming molten glass into intricate works of art. You watch intently as Helios gathers a glowing blob of molten glass on the end of his blowpipe, his breath mingling with the cooling material. With deft movements, he shapes the glass, creating delicate patterns and forms that seem almost magical in their beauty. Your admiration grows with each stroke of his skilled hands, understanding the years of practice and mastery it has taken to achieve such perfection. You engage the glassblower and his companions in lively conversation, discussing trade routes, cultural exchanges, and the wonders of their respective homelands. As the evening progresses, you exchange gifts and forge new alliances, strengthening the bonds between your people and the Greeks. The night ends with a feast, celebrating the union of cultures and the shared love of fine craftsmanship. The next morning, sunlight streams through the windows of your bedroom, rousing you from sleep. You rise refreshed and ready to begin another day of trade and diplomacy. After bathing and donning your finest robes, You step into your courtyard where breakfast awaits. Your wife joins you, her presence a source of comfort and support in the bustling world of commerce. Together, you enjoy a leisurely meal, discussing the upcoming days, tasks, and the challenges that lie ahead. Your children enter, their laughter echoing through the courtyard as they recount stories of their day at school. For a moment, you savor the joy of family life, grateful for their presence in your world of trade and riches. As the morning sun climbs higher in the sky, you gather your thoughts and prepare to face the demands of the day. With your wife's loving glance and your children's cheerful waves, you set out towards the bustling markets of Merrow, eager to engage in the day's transactions and further your fortune. While you have built strong alliances with various groups in Nubia, you also have formidable rivals who would gladly see you fall from grace. Among them are two figures who stand out, each representing a different threat to your prosperity. The first is Amenhotep, a member of the royal court, known for his cunning and ambition. He keeps a close watch on your activities, always seeking to uncover any misstep that could lead to your downfall. His influence at court is considerable, and he uses it to undermine your interests whenever possible. You sense his every move, feeling the chill of his scrutiny upon your back. With each interaction, you must be cautious not to reveal any weakness that he could exploit. Your second rival is Ketish, a member of a rival trading clan. She has built a formidable network of informants and is always aware of your whereabouts. Her motives are purely economic, seeking to drain every last drop of profit from your trade routes. Ketish's tactics are ruthless, employing everything from underhanded sales tactics to spreading false rumors about your business practices. You have caught her in lies before, but her web of deceit is intricate and hard to unravel. Every transaction you make is scrutinized, ensuring you never gain an advantage. With such potent enemies watching your every move, you must remain vigilant. In this game of economic warfare, a single misstep could spell disaster. So you keep your cards close to your chest, never revealing the full extent of your wealth or the secrets of your trade. You play the long game, knowing that patience and calculated moves will ultimately lead to victory. Will you be able to protect your wealth and maintain your status in Nubian society, or will envy and greed prevail? Only time will tell. In the grand tapestry of Nubia, where threads of trade and politics intertwine, let's now turn our attention to the merchants, those astute navigators of the market forces who held considerable sway over the kingdom's affairs. These men and women, often overlooked in history books, played a pivotal role in shaping Nubia's destiny. As the sun peeked over the horizon, casting its warm glow over the bustling marketplace, the merchant elite began their day. Their voices, though unheard in the clamor of the crowd, carried more weight than many a nobleman's bellow, for they understood the language of the marketplace, the subtle shifts in supply and demand, the whispers of trade routes, and the hidden needs of the kingdom. One such merchant might have been Malik, a man whose wealth rivaled some nobles and whose network of informants spread like a spider web across Nubia. Over cups of spiced coffee, he would hear the latest news. A caravan arriving late from the south with a dwindling water supply, a sudden demand for ivory in the north, or a rumor that the Egyptian pharaoh was seeking rare Nubian gold. Such information was his currency, and he traded it carefully, making sure his investments yielded the highest returns. For instance, if he learned that a caravan was struggling, he might discreetly offer supplies and guide them toward profitable markets. By anticipating shortages, he could corner the market, creating artificial scarcities that drove up prices. And when a rumor reached him of the pharaoh's interest in Nubian gold, he might quietly purchase large quantities of the metal, knowing that once the official request came, he could sell for an exorbitant profit. These machinations were not merely about personal gain. They were a game of subtle diplomacy, ensuring that Nubia's resources were directed to where they could bring the greatest benefit to the kingdom, or at least to whomsoever had tipped him off. He understood that his prosperity was tied to the kingdom's stability, and he worked to ensure that Nubia remained prosperous and influential, all while keeping an eye on his own fortune. It was a delicate balance, but one that Malik and his fellow merchants mastered, making them indispensable to the kingdom's well-being and giving them an influence that was often greater than that of the nobility. After all, they understood the levers of the economy better than anyone else, and the king was wise to heed their counsel. When the sun beat down on the dusty streets and the crowds thinned, Malik might seek the shade of a palm canopy, sipping sweet palm wine and watching the sunset. Around him, men and women of all social classes mingled. Farmers traded their day's produce, artisans haggled over the price of tools, and travelers shared tales from distant lands. It was in these quiet moments that the true pulse of Nubia could be felt. For here in the marketplace, the hum of conversation was more than just the sound of people going about their daily business. It was the pulse of Nubia's politics, the hidden parliament where decisions were whispered in the shade of palm canopies, and influence was bought not with words alone, but with the steady flow of trade. Here in the heart of the stalls, the merchant elite wove threads that reached king's courts, temples, and distant cities. Here, a bag of incense could shift loyalties. A caravan of salt could secure an alliance. A shipment of gold dust, carefully placed in the hands of a priest, could change the tone of a prophecy. In this way, the marketplace became an extension of the palace, and merchants, though never crowned, became quiet rulers of another kind. They shaped not only what people ate, wore, or burned at their altars, but also how the balance of power tilted in kingdoms beyond their sight. Imagine, if you will, a caravan winding its way across the arid expanse of the Nubian desert, laden with precious cargo. At its head, a grizzled leader guides his camels and donkeys, their bells tinkling in the hot air. Behind him, men and women from various corners of Nubia travel together, united by their trust in this seasoned guide. For Custis is no ordinary merchant. His knowledge of the desert's hidden paths and oases rivals that of the nomads, and his reputation for honesty and fairness precedes him. Over the weeks of their journey, the group shares stories around the campfire, swapping tales of their home villages and the goods they are bringing to market. A farmer from the south speaks of the bountiful harvest of grain, while a woodworker from the north describes the intricate ivory carvings he has brought to trade. But as the days pass and the sun beats down relentlessly, tensions rise. Rumors spread of bandits lurking nearby, and the group's unity begins to fray. Some call for turning back, but Custis remains resolute. He knows that their destination holds promise, and he rallies the group to press on. Then suddenly, just as the group's morale is at its lowest, a lone figure emerges from the swirling dust, a messenger sent by Custis to ensure their safety. With him, supplies and a reassuring message from their leader. The group is heartened and presses forward. Finally, as the sun dips below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and red, they see it, a cluster of tents rising in the distance, the symbol of safety and rest. Soon they are inside the camp, sharing stories and laughter around a crackling fire. The threat of bandits seems a world away, for this is no ordinary camp. It is a haven established by Custis, a place where merchants and travelers can find refuge from the harsh realities of desert travel. Here, under the cloak of darkness, the fabric of Nubia's society is revealed. The quiet strength of merchants like Custis lies not in their wealth alone, but in their ability to connect people, to build trust and understanding across the vast expanse of their kingdom. Their influence reaches far and wide, shaping not only the economy, but the very essence of Nubian life. They are the unseen hands that guide the flow of trade, the silent voices that shape the course of the kingdom. And in doing so, they weave a tapestry of prosperity and unity that defines the true spirit of Nubia. To understand Nubia's unique approach to the afterlife, we must first acknowledge the role of the Nile River in their cosmology. The river's annual floods were seen as a life-giving force, nurturing the land and ensuring fertility. This cycle of death and rebirth mirrored their beliefs about the afterlife, which they viewed as a journey to the underworld, a realm ruled by Osiris, god of the dead. The Nubians believed that after death, the soul traveled south along the Nile, passing through the underworld and eventually reaching the field of reeds, a paradise reserved for the righteous. To aid their loved ones on this journey, the living performed elaborate burial rituals, placing offerings and even furniture and food in the tombs. They also constructed grand pyramids and decorated them with vibrant paintings depicting scenes from the deceased person's life and the journey to the afterlife. For example, one tomb might feature a deceased hunter accompanied by his dogs, symbolizing his prowess in the hunt. Another might depict a noblewoman preparing for a journey, showcasing her status and wealth. These artistic representations were not mere decorations, but served as guides for the soul, helping it navigate the complex rituals and challenges of the underworld. The Nubians' belief in the field of reeds as a reward for the righteous also influenced their art. Depictions of this heavenly realm often showed lush vegetation, abundant wildlife, and the deceased individual enjoying leisure activities. One famous example is the tomb of Osiris, an Egyptian official who chose to be buried in Nubia. Its walls are covered with images of the field of reeds, highlighting its importance in Nubian eschatology. However, the Nubians' unique blend of Egyptian and indigenous beliefs is perhaps best exemplified by their mummification practices. While the Egyptians preserved their dead through a complex process involving removing internal organs, treating the body with spices and resins, and wrapping it in bandages, the Nubians took a different approach, although they did sometimes use certain preservation techniques. Their mummification practices were simpler and more closely aligned with their indigenous traditions. Nubian mummies were often wrapped in mats made of reeds or leather rather than linen, and they typically retained many of their internal organs. This approach reflected not only their different beliefs about the afterlife, but also their distinct cultural identity. Nevertheless, elements of Egyptian influence can still be seen in Nubian mummification, such as the use of resin and the inclusion of amulets meant to protect the dead on their journey to the afterlife. This fusion of Egyptian and indigenous beliefs and practices resulted in a rich and varied artistic tradition that continues to captivate us today. From the pyramids to the tombs and the mummies, each artifact provides a glimpse into the complex world of Nubian beliefs and their unique relationship with the afterlife. In the heart of an ancient land where empires rose and fell like waves on the desert sands, there stood a palace. Not just any palace, mind you, but the very seat of power for the great Nubian kingdom. We're talking about a place where the sun beat down relentlessly during the day, and the nights were so clear that the Milky Way seemed close enough to touch. Now, this particular palace wasn't the biggest or the flashiest, but it was steeped in history. We're talking about a place where generations of pharaohs had walked, where their decisions echoed through time, shaping the destiny of entire nations. Each room, each corridor had its own story to tell, and the walls themselves seemed to whisper tales of bygone eras. This palace was the stage where ordinary men became legendary, where strategies were formed and destinies were decided. It was here, behind these weathered sandstone walls, that the real drama unfolded. You won't believe what happened here. Trust me, the Nubians, they were known as fierce warriors, skilled traders and rulers who knew how to keep their cool. Their empire, it stretched from the Mediterranean Sea to the very heart of Africa. During the days of the Egyptian New Kingdom, around 2,000 years ago, they were considered the powerhouse of the region, strong enough to challenge Egypt itself. Yet, despite their strength, the Nubians were also wise enough to know when to lay down their arms and seek alliances. They understood the value of trade and diplomacy. During the reign of King Azana, about 1500 years ago, they converted to Christianity, becoming one of the first African civilizations to do so. But, let's be honest, no matter how powerful you are, if your palace is scorching hot during the day, it can be hard to stay focused on world domination. That's why, during the hottest hours, activities in the palace would slow down. Officials and nobles would take a break, seeking refuge in the shade, or perhaps indulging in a midday nap. It was during these quiet hours that intrigues and rivalries simmered beneath the surface. Whispers echoed through the corridors, carrying secrets and rumors that could make or break a career. Loyalties shifted like the desert sands, and alliances were forged and broken over cups of spiced coffee. And then, as the sun began its descent, casting long shadows across the palace grounds, the energy would shift. People would start emerging from their hiding places, shaking off the lethargy of the heat. As the temperature dropped, the wheels of power started turning once again. For example, our buddy Amonarinas. She was a badass Nubian queen who ruled like a proper boss. We're talking about a woman who led her army to victory against Rome, the superpower of her time. Yet even she couldn't resist the siesta. After all, it's not called the siesta for nothing. It's a time for rest, for recharging your batteries before the evening rush. Now, let's talk about the heat. Oh man, the heat. When the sun was at its peak, let's say between 11 a.m. and 4 p.m., the temperature inside the palace could soar to unbearable levels. We're talking about a furnace-like atmosphere where even the sturdiest warriors would start sweating buckets. The Nubian architects, they tried their best to tackle the problem. They incorporated things like thick walls, shaded courtyards, and plenty of ventilation shafts to keep the air moving. But let's be real, it was still sweltering inside that palace. To beat the heat, people would do some pretty interesting stuff. First off, you've got to think about clothing. Nobody was rocking those heavy linen outfits during the hottest hours. Instead, think light, breathable fabrics, probably something similar to what you'd wear for a summer barbecue. Then there were the baths. The baths. People would spend hours lounging in cool water, enjoying the refreshing splash. It was a great way to relax and maybe catch up on some gossip while you re-ate it. And let's not forget about food. During the siesta time, people would enjoy light meals, lots of fruits and vegetables, maybe some fish. No heavy stews or roasted meats, please. But the question remains, how did they keep the records? Well, let me tell you, the Nubians were smart cookies. They didn't have air conditioning, but they did have some clever tricks up their sleeves to keep things running smoothly during the scorching days. First off, they had scribes, loads of them, to keep track of everything from taxes to trade deals. These guys were the record keepers, the ones who made sure that every important piece of information was documented. Then there were the officials. You know, the government folks who kept the wheels of power turning. They had important jobs to do, but they also knew when it was time to take a break. During the siesta, they would often delegate tasks to lower officials or scribes, basically giving them more responsibilities to keep things moving. This way, the higher-ups could rest easy knowing that someone else was keeping an eye on things. They also used things like papyrus and clay tablets to record important information. And guess what? They even used a type of paper made from the papyrus plant, which was popular in ancient Egypt. So basically, they had several ways of recording their history and keeping their empire running smoothly. But let's be real, it wasn't always smooth sailing. There were times when things went awry, when power struggles and rivalries boiled over. For example, remember that Queen Amenarina's I told you about? She was a force to be reckoned with. When her father, King Natakamani, died, she took over the throne and wasted no time asserting her power. She crushed rebellions, expanded Nubian territory, and even went toe-to-toe with Rome. Yeah, she was one tough cookie. Another example was the Kingdom of Kush, located south of Nubia. At one point, Kush invaded Nubia, throwing the entire region into chaos. But you know what? The Nubians fought back and eventually drove the invaders out. So yeah, things weren't always peaceful in Nubia, but the Nubians, they were resilient. They adapted to the challenges and kept their empire going for centuries. Nubia's fall came when Muslim armies from the north and new kingdoms from the south pushed into the region. Even though the Nubian kingdom was gone, the legacy of this incredible civilization lives on. Their art, their architecture, and their achievements continue to fascinate us today. So, next time you're feeling overwhelmed by the heat or the pressure of your daily life, just remember the Nubians. They not only survived, but thrived in the scorching desert. They developed ingenious ways to cope with the heat, keep their records, and maintain their empire. They were smart, adaptable, and resilient, qualities we can all aspire to. And hey, if they could handle scorching temperatures, surely we can handle whatever life throws our way, right? So go forth, my friends, and conquer your own personal deserts with the same grace and dignity as the Nubians. You got this. That's all for today. But remember, the adventure doesn't end here. If you want to join us on this journey through time and discover more fascinating tales, don't forget to subscribe. By doing so, you'll ensure that you never miss an exciting episode. And if you're eager to dive deeper into the world of ancient civilizations, check out our other videos. Who knows, you might just uncover the next lost secret of the pharaohs. As the last torch flickers along the walls of the Nubian marketplaces and palaces, we step back from the rush of caravans, the weight of gold, and the whispers of palace intrigue. We have walked with the traders, felt the sun on endless deserts, and glimpsed the hidden dances of wealth and power. Each story, each secret, has shaped a civilization that thrived through courage, ingenuity, and the careful balance of trust and ambition. The great traders of Kerma, the golden age of Solomon's mines, the quiet diplomacy of the palm wine. The tales unfold like precious artifacts. The desert wind carries the echo of their voices, their laughter, their songs, their struggles, and their hopes. The ancient world comes alive with each grain of sand sifted, each oasis discovered, each camel caravan crossing the dunes. We've journeyed across the kingdom with the king's messengers, raced through bustling markets where exotic goods shimmered under the midday sun. We've sipped sweet palm wine with storytellers, their tales weaving magic in the flickering lamplight. We've sat by campfires where the stars mirrored the patterns on the skins of drums, each beat echoing a heartbeat of 1,000 generations. And now, as the eternal night settles over the desert, we find ourselves in the quiet embrace of the cosmos, surrounded by the whispers of countless stories. From the soaring pyramids of Meroe to the humble tents of desert nomads, we've witnessed the panorama of a civilization. We've seen the strength in the curve of a shield, the artistry in the patterns of a vase, the wisdom etched in the lines on a wrinkled face. The Nubian traders remind us that history is more than a collection of dates and battles. It's a living tapestry woven with the threads of everyday life. Their resilience in the face of hunger, their resourcefulness in navigating treacherous journeys, their patience in enduring the hardships of the desert, all speak to the indomitable spirit of humanity. We've stood beside them at the crossroads of empires, feeling the weight of decisions that shaped destinies. We've watched as they forged alliances across cultural divides, bridging the gaps between kingdoms. We've listened intently as they bartered, not just for goods, but for stories, ideas, and dreams. Each interaction a delicate dance of words and gestures, building trust as fragile and valuable as the finest gold. And now, as the desert cools and the first stars begin to glimmer, we feel a profound connection to those who walked this land before us. Their footsteps are imprinted on the sands of time, and we are humbled by the privilege of tracing their path. The ancient world may seem distant, yet it's in these moments of quiet reflection that we realize its enduring relevance. The lessons of the Nubian traders continue to resonate, urging us to be resilient in the face of adversity, to seek common ground across differences, and to recognize the profound impact of seemingly ordinary lives. In the vast canvas of history, their stories may seem like a tiny thread, but together they form an intricate pattern, a testament to the human spirit's ability to adapt, to persevere, and to connect. As the night deepens, we let the starlight guide our thoughts back to the bustling bazaars, the quiet diplomacy of the courts, and the endless expanse of the desert. Here, in the hush of the evening, surrounded by the silent wisdom of the ancients, we find that the true essence of history lies not in grand narratives, but in the quiet contemplation of lives, lived lessons learned, and stories shared. The Nubian traders may have vanished into the mists of time, but their legacy lives on in the echoes of their laughter, the whispers of their tales, and the timeless values they embraced. Their world, though ancient, speaks to the core of our shared humanity, reminding us that in the grand tapestry of existence, it's the small threads of kindness, courage, and resilience that create the most enduring patterns. And so, under this vast canopy of stars, we pay tribute to the Nubian traders, not as distant figures of the past, but as kindred spirits who once looked up at the same sky, navigated the same landscapes, and grappled with the same universal challenges. As the desert wind whispers secrets of ages gone by, we listen with hearts full of gratitude, knowing that their stories enrich our lives in ways we can only begin to fathom. In the silence of the desert night, we find ourselves connected to the Nubian traders by an invisible thread that stretches across time. Yes, you are now under baobab skies,